So, let's talk about Night at the Museum. Kahmunrah rises again. But before I first get into the first, to like Night in the Museum Kahmunrah rise again, I would like to discuss about Black Panther: Wakanda Forever, and it was actually a pretty big step up from Marvel Phase 4. The story had quite an emotional scenes that actually make the story a bit engaging, and the characters still have a lot of development, and the CGI, while not the best, was a big improvement from the garbage ones we used to have. I would say this is probably one of the better MCU Phase 4 films, and that's why I'm giving this a 7 out of 10 and with the seal of good. But back on track with Night in the Museum, Kahmunrah rises again. So basically, this is an animated sequel to like the live action franchise of Night at the Museum, which to be fair, I wasn't really a huge fan of since I did, but I still enjoy the franchise since I did enjoy watching the first one, but I don't really remember much about the second and third film, so that's a shame. Right? But now that we got an animated film, which was actually made by Disney, it's mostly feels like that it's one of those films that was actually confirmed about the 20th Century Fox anime films that come out soon. And one of them was already made, and 2 films ago. Jesus Christ, I need to end my life so bad. The next ones are obviously gonna be a pain, but my expectations for the film were pretty low. But how did I think of it when I first watched it? Okay, let's just move on. Let's just go with the biggest problem of the film, and that is the film's writing and story. Basically, it's about this boy named Nicky, who was actually from like the live action films, and who's now become a teenager and wants to be as a DJ and want to ask a girl out, but then he got asked by Ari to like be as a night guard and actually take her stuff, and the shenanigan happens in there, and then Common Law actually gets free from the box while Nick was trying to do this one job to lock the basement when he just wimped his way out, and then Kahmunrah's free and now is taking over the world while Nick and the others trying to stop him. And that's basically the biggest problem with the film. It just feels rushed and actually doesn't really serve much for a Night at the Museum film. Where it's just like going after like one scene after another and one scene after another. Since the entire film is just basically the main characters trying to chase down this villain. Like it doesn't give a moment to have a break, or even for a moment yet you have a moment to breathe. And the other part about it is the comedy. And while there were some like okay moments where it did get a chuck at me, the rest are very cringy and not even funny. Especially when most of them consist of like pop culture references and also breaking the fourth wall. And I'll get to that when we talk about the characters. But even if the execution of the story doesn't work, I'll give credit that it does have an interesting concept. Since it focuses on one of the more fewer main characters of Nick Hickey, who was actually the son of Larry, Larry's also the protagonist of the first few live action films. So it actually does make sense to like make a film about Larry's son actually doing his job, and it does have the right materials to make a night museum film with Nicky, of course. But the execution does not too much about it, and kind of makes a story feel like a waste of time, but not too much. But it's basically the weakest part of the film. And with such a weak writing, it also affects on how the characters are. A good example is Nick, who is just the usual protagonist who is trying to be to be like a somebody and actually conceive his mission and ask a girl out, but then he goes, "It's night guard," and yeah, it's just your typical protagonist. And as for like the ones in the museum, there's not much I can say about them. They're fine, but don't include much like Teddy Roosevelt and Scatterall being the so-called supporters of Nick, while Joan of Arc is being this brave type character. Octavius and I hate pronouncing these names, they actually are so annoying. Jedidiah being like the two duo that don't get along too much, and Law being the sore-minded comic relief. And there's also Larry Daly, who him and Law are surprisingly voiced by Zachary Levi, and I'll give him that he did play the part decently here. here. But the most standout is that he actually gave the best performances to Larry, of course. And I'll give that the actors did actually a decent performance as them, even if like bloody Thomas Lennon did not is nowhere near levels of Robin Williams, but he did a decent job here. But then there's Kahmunrah, and this might be the biggest downgrade to Kahmunrah, since he is just so annoying. Where most of the jokes are just pop culture references and just terrible humor that makes this film even stressful and annoying to watch. And including with his his own sidekick Seth, who's like a god, but also around his levels of annoyingness. And that's basically it. The actors are decent, but the characters aren't really the memorable parts of the film. Then there's the animation, and people would just see and actually call it or just like a regular TV quality animation. And I do get that, since I mostly feel like the same way while watching this film, and feel like it would have been a lot more better for a TV series. But it turns out when I rewatch this film, the animation actually does improve on me. Sure, it doesn't do much of its TV quality, but there are some big standards on what it's trying to do. The character animation is a lot more smooth and actually a lot lively to actually give out some fun moments, and some of the backgrounds are actually pretty good and decent with the museum and Egypt that the characters go through in pictures wherever they go. And I give that the action scenes, while they can be boring, they actually do give me a bit of an excitement and actually a lot of interest and a good climax as well. So I'll give that the action scenes are one of the better parts about the film. But my one criticism with the film is that the character designs don't look good. I mean, they don't even fit the characters well. Like you can tell that these characters don't really look like the ones they are supposed to be like in the live action films. And that's a bit of a downer here, especially with Larry and Nick, who don't even look like the main ones at all. But I'll give Nick a pass, since he's mostly a teenager of the young boy Nick, so that's something, I guess. And there was also like a bit of CG on the dino guy. I don't even know what the fuck his name is. But I'll give that his CG on himself is mixed surprisingly well. Like, it actually does blend well with the hand-drawn animation. But again, not the best, but not the worst either. As a result, Night at the Museum Kahmunrah Rises Again is nothing really much. It's basically just like a typical sequel to like as a nostalgia film to like a franchise. And I mean, I'll give it some good credit. Like, it does have some good animations, and the actors did a fine performance, and it does have a good concept, but the execution doesn't make this film really good enough to like be seen to watch. Like how the story feels rushed, and some of the character designs and the TV quality isn't really that good. But most of the characters don't really have much to do here, especially annoying two villains. Yeah, so if you're the fan of Night at the Museum, you might as well just skip this one and stick with the first live action film. Or if you're a fan of the second and third film. So you might as well enjoy those films, of course. But if you're not a fan and might be a newcomer, then you might have a decent time with this film.
This song is copyrighted.
Well, I mean, this film is a bit harmless, that's what I'm going to say. My expectations were quite low. Well, I think it's enough of it just to steal of average. It could have been better, but at least it wasn't worse. But heck, hope you enjoyed this film more than I did. Next time on Kyle's Reviews is, well, people, we done it. I have finally got myself to soon enough to review Strange World. It's been quite a while, but I know this will happen.
This song is copyrighted. Oh no. I must replace it. This song is copyrighted. I can't include it.